Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning. I want to start by looking back 367 days ago. Americans held their breath when they heard the news of the attempted assassination of President Trump. That bullet threatened more than just one man. It threatened our entire nation. If President Trump didn't survive, just think about this for a minute. Would border crossings be at an all-time low? Would Iran not have a nuclear weapon? Would Treasury have received an unexpected surplus as the president levels the playing field through his tariff negotiations? Would the stock market be at an all-time high? I doubt it. Now, as we reflect upon that day, we are reminded of just how far we've come since then and how much more we have to in Butler, Pennsylvania. Now, the last time the House Republicans were in Washington, we kept our promises. Despite all the doubts, House Republicans delivered on the one big, beautiful bill, and we got it to President Trump's desk on will benefit all to Louisiana and from Florida to California. House Republicans kept our promises to cut taxes, no taxes on tips, overtime, and give people more of their Social Security benefits with no taxes on their Social Security. We lifted financial burdens off the backs of American families, law enforcement officers. And House Republicans kept our promise to secure the border by finishing the wall. We restored safety and security in our communities. We kept our promise to unleash American energy, and we strengthened Medicaid for those who need it most, expanded health saving accounts, and created a rural hospital fund. Whether it's lower gas prices, lower taxes, or more jobs, there's something in the one big, beautiful bill to help every single American. Compare that to Democrats who voted to raise every American's taxes. And you can be sure that every American will hear about this from members of Congress. House Republicans will be spreading the news of the big historic wins in the one big beautiful bill. We've already kicked things off at our media row, and I hope that you'll join us there. And now I will turn it over to one of my newest colleagues, freshman Representative Jimmy Patronis of Florida. And with him, he will bring a guest who directly benefits from the one big beautiful bill. So you can take it from here.
Thank you, Chair.
You are welcome. All right, let me get my pencil and get it.
Gotcha. Good morning. Thank you, Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Scalise, Whip Emmer, and Chair McLean for your leadership on the bill. As a small business owner, I was in the restaurant business for 36 years of my life, and it's really impactful what this legislation is going to ultimately do. I think there's one thing that the President understands. He understands the service industry. And as somebody who has run that industry for the last 36 years, there's a challenge we've had ever since COVID, and that has been just the efforts that we have struggled to try to find an engagement and enthusiasm back in the workforce. I think the President has a secret power, and that secret power is how to grow businesses. With the no tax on tips, we're looking at a $1,300, average $1,300 per service industry employee that is going to have new money in their pocket. That will either be servicing debt, taking care of their family, providing for their family, or just, you know what, just getting to spend their money instead of Washington, D.C. With the no tax on overtime, same thing. We're looking at about $1,300. That's going to impact that hourly worker. You think about the enthusiasm that's going to have in bringing people back into the workforce or getting people more enthused about those industries where they know overtime and tips are an engagement of how they get paid. I'm excited. But, you know, now I think about my mom. When you talk about no tax on seniors, they're going to be able to hold on to as much as $6,000 in new deductions back in their pocket to offset the costs and the inflations that have been dealt to them by the Biden administration. We're turning this country around one step after the other. And I tell people all the time, it's not a sprint, it's a march. And we worked so hard to get this bill across the finish line. The men and women up here worked through the night, as we knew at the end of the day, the citizens of the United States spends their money better than Washington, D.C. does. And this is a testament as we're making sure they get to keep more of their money. What I also get excited about is the money that has been committed to air traffic control, as those challenges that we have faced for years have been unfortunate. And we know that we've got an aging infrastructure system. It's sad that every single Democrat that serves in that building across the street voted against putting $12 billion back into improving the system. When you look at those dollars and upgrading that aging infrastructure, but more importantly, it's the backbone of economic commerce in our country. And you've got to make those investments. And sometimes it may not be sexy, but by God, to absorb state-of-the-art technology, to have that peace of mind of business in our country. And lastly is I'm so excited as a member of Congress that has 5 installations in his district, whether it's Eglin, Herbert Field, NAS Pensacola, NAS Whiting, Corey Station, or Duke Field. These installations are going to benefit from the One Big Beautiful Bill. As we have seen historic levels, we have exceeded every recruiting goal already now for the entire year. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have created a new enthusiasm in our United States military. $9 billion to improve the quality of life for our service members. $20 billion to bolster munition production. $12 billion to modernize our nuclear arsenal, and over $5 billion to secure our border. These are game changers, but it also creates an enthusiasm that lets our servicemen and women know they're appreciated, taking care of our veterans. And I'm very excited that means taking care of Florida Congressional District 1. Thank you to the Speaker and his entire team for making this happen. And I want to introduce Frank Patty. Frank Patty and his family, they're a multi-generational difference maker in Northwest Florida. Whether it be in their renowned, world-famous fishing market, they have got a seafood market there in Pensacola that whenever you walk in, it's like a circus. It is people are going in every different direction, but it's quality seafood from the Gulf of America and all over the United States as they come in to receive their produce. And then what happened is, as they were running their own fishing fleets, they realized they had to fix the boats that they were using. So what they do, they decided to build their own shipyard. So whether it be running their own seafood market, fixing their own ships, or building the next generation of ships that are taking care of the Army Corps of Engineers or just the private sector, this family has made a commitment, and it's exciting to have them up here being a part of what the Big Beautiful Bill means to their family and their ability to grow their economy in not just Northwest Florida, but in our country. Frank.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you so much. Well, appreciate that so much. My name is Frank Patty Jr. I am an owner-operator at Patty Marine Enterprises and Joe Patty Seafood. We are based in Pensacola, Florida. First, I'd like to thank Speaker Mike Johnson and Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Majority Whip Tom Emer and Chairman Lisa McLean. Thank you. And, of course, my buddy Jimmy. It's an honor to speak today from our nation's capital with this incredible team that you have here and speak about this positive impacts of the One Big Beautiful Bill. My daughter Mandy and I are very proud of our family business. My grandparents are both born in Sicily, 10 miles apart from each other, and met for the first time in Pensacola. And so how this happened is really amazing, because meeting in Pensacola, my grandfather was running snapper smacks down to Campeche. He says, you going to start a business? I'm not raising this family by myself. She says, what are you going to do? You're going to get a boat? We're going to sell bait off the front porch. So here we are 97 years later. 94 years later, I'm sorry. 94 years later, it's a thriving business with high volume, serves thousands of people a day. And then we got into business to build our own fleet. So we set up a shipyard in the parking lot, rolled the first vessels in on wooden logs, very meager beginnings. and built our own fleet, operated our own fleet, sold our own product. Of course, we started building for everybody. So the fishing vessels from Dutch Harbor to Maine, we built the very first licensed gambling boat in the country. We built the largest gambling boat in the country. Did a lot of vessels for the Army Corps of Engineers. Matter of fact, we built more vessels for the Army in a 20-year span than any other shipyard, and got an award from the Corps for outstanding civilian service, and then other significant vessel awards. We are very blessed with all our work. But of course, we want to talk about safety too, because we are very big on safety, and our shipyard, the last 4 national safety awards we got, the last 2 were the best small shipyard in the country, and that was 2 years in a row. So we're very blessed for our great team that we have, and the family that we were blessed with, and my daughter Mandy, who and my son, and my grandparents and everybody, that how far we've come. So for our shipyard employees and our seafood employees, the no tax and overtime means more take-home pay, which reflects in greater retention and happier families. Thank you. And for our shipyard operations, the full deductibility of the new construction and the 100% immediate expensing of equipment, and the extension of the Trump tax cuts allows us to reinvest directly into our workforce, our facilities, and grow our future. Even more exciting is the potential for maritime prosperity zones, designating coastal working waterfronts like ours in Pensacola, and prioritizing development areas which will supercharge innovation, attract more skilled labor, and secure American domestic shipbuilding capabilities. With this one big beautiful bill and the prosperity zones together for shipyards like ours will revitalize the industry with real wage increases and the manufacturing boost needed to meet the maritime demands of the defense and commercial domestic needs. We are very grateful for the leadership of President Trump and this incredible team you have here working hard for the American workers, the American manufacturers, and the small businesses like ours located in Pensacola on the great Gulf of America. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Great work. Thanks for being here. Patties. This week, we are delivering on President Trump's promise to make America the crypto capital of the world. For too long, digital asset innovation in this country has been stifled by ambiguous rules, instability, and the Biden administration's anti-crypto crusade. Now we have the opportunity to pass a comprehensive, nonpartisan digital asset legislation that will unlock the next era of American innovation, protect consumers, and strengthen the U.S. dollar. Where ambiguity and unclear jurisdiction have stifled blockchain innovation, the Clarity Act will create a much-needed regulatory framework for the digital asset marketplace. Doing this not only gives builders and firms the rules of the road, it also ensures consumers are protected against fraud and bad actors. And the Senate's Genius Act will peg stablecoins to a stable currency, like the U.S. dollar, opening the door for the United States to lead the world in digital finance. The House will also vote on our anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, which bans the Fed from issuing a central bank currency. Under the Biden administration, financial surveillance gained a foothold in the United States as they explored the creation of a central bank digital currency. CBDCs are already used by governments like the Chinese Communist Party to monitor, track, and judge the financial actions of its citizens. A CBDC would be nothing more than a surveillance tool that could threaten our very way of life. We can't let that happen. These 3 nonpartisan bills are the culmination of years of work in Congress, and especially in the House. Together, they're going to launch America to the top of the digital asset innovation world and fulfill our promise of making America the crypto capital of the world. We've waited long enough. We must take hold of this opportunity now. This is the week. And with that, I turn it over to our leader.
Thank you, Whip.
Talking about innovation.
We are not done innovating, and we're not done winning. We are just getting started. This House majority keeps delivering for the American people. I know nobody in this room did, but there were some who doubted whether we could pull off passing the one big beautiful bill. There were days when, maybe more members than we could lose were out there saying maybe they might not vote for the bill. But this leadership team, led by our Speaker, and especially led by, you think about Donald Trump and the work that he's done to get this country back on track. Donald Trump was all in it, making sure that the one big beautiful bill passed. He made phone calls that he needed to make. He was directly involved in helping usher that bill to his desk, and then we were all there for that great signing on July 4th in the White House to celebrate what's going to be a great American comeback story to get this country back on track. And it's great to welcome the Patties here. Great family business, multi-generational business, almost 100 years. I'll come see y'all if Patronus will have me for the 100-year celebration of what is part of the American dream. What they described, come to this country legally. Let's help start a business. We've got to figure out how to make ends meet. So let's meet demands and help in our community. And then as that demand was met, they found other needs and they grew into a just keep and creating jobs. And this bill delivers for so many working families in America. If you just spent all of your days listening to the lies told by the Democrats, you would be living in a parallel universe, because they're rooting against the success of this bill, which means they're rooting against the success of working families across America. The good news is we, as House Republicans, focus on how to deliver wins for the families who have been struggling because of those failed Democrat policies, because of what the far left has done to increase inflation, increased interest rates, make it harder for the waiter or waitress to get by working 2 shifts at a diner. Well, now they don't have to pay tax on tips. And as Democrats are lying about billionaires, what they actually did was vote against those waiters and waitresses. They voted against those shift workers at the Patty shipyard who are working overtime and are wondering how much time they're spending away from their family, and they have to pay so much in taxes. Well, now they won't anymore. They're going to have dollars more every year in their pockets to go and maybe take a family vacation, to put away for their college. Every Democrat, how are they going to reconcile that when they fan across America? And I know Akeem is taking this traveling roadshow around the country to try to keep lying about the bill. The problem is he is flying in the face of Americans who know how good this bill is going to be for them. As he's lying about billionaires, every senior citizen who gets a benefit from this bill is saying, wait a minute, why'd you vote against a $6,000 deduction for me? That's what every Democrat did. And so we're talking about the wins in this bill that a lot of people don't know about. We of course know about lower rates for everybody. Every Democrat voted to raise rates on everybody. I'm curious to see, as they're traveling around the country, will they answer the question, will Hakeem and all of his friends pay the higher tax rate that they voted to impose on every American family? They actually did that. They voted to raise every American's taxes. But now that the bill's passed, are they going to be hypocritical and take the lower rate? Or will they can actually send more money in? They believe in taking more of your money, but they can send in more of their money. Will they do that and pay that higher rate that they voted to impose on everybody? I think probably not, but it's a fair question to ask. But in the meantime, all of those families who are going to benefit, a air traffic control system, as Congressman Patronus just talked about. We saw the floppy disks are running airports like in LaGuardia, floppy disk drives. I'm a computer science major. I learned in the 80s how to program a computer on floppy disks. We got rid of the floppy disks in the 90s. They're still running airports off of that old technology. And President Modern, they have the confidence that that air traffic control system at their airport run off of modern 21st century technology, not 1980s technology. You think about school choice. First time ever the federal government passed a school choice bill to give families an option now. And it's available to every state. States have the ability to opt in. Gavin Newsom likes attacking people who go visit his state. He likes attacking the millions of people who leave his state because he's such a failed leader. I'm wondering, is Gavin Newsom going to stand in front of the schoolhouse steps and deny the ability for every low-income family in the state of California the ability to send their kid to the school of their choice if the local school is failing those kids? That's a dilemma now that people like Gavin Newsom will have to face. Will he bow to the teachers' unions and tell those low-income families, no, your kid's got to stay in a failing school, or will he take advantage of the great opportunity presented in this one big beautiful bill to allow those low-income families to send their kids to any school, to have the opportunity to seek the American dream like every kid in this country deserves? That's in this bill. President Trump's Golden Dome, so many other great things, but we're going to keep talking about it. We're going to pass great digital currency legislation this week to continue modernizing our laws to keep up with the technology of today. We're going to pass the DoD appropriations bill this week to make sure that our men and women in uniform at all those great military bases that are in Congressman Petronis and so many other districts will be able to have the ability to keep up, to keep recruiting, to keep being the best and brightest and strongest fighting force in the world. That's what we're going to do this week. We're going to keep delivering. We're going to keep fighting for those families who have been left behind for way too long. Those days are no longer. President Trump is in the White House. Republicans are running Congress. We're getting things done, and we're delivering results for hardworking families. And the man who never allows failure, who has said, no, we are not going to accept, even when the numbers don't look right, we're going to figure out a way to get it done, and we got it done because we've got a strong, bold leader as our Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you all for being here. Thank this great leadership team. Thank you, Congressman Jimmy Petronis, who has represented Florida's Panhandle so well. So grateful to have the Patty family, Frank and Mandy, and we have a lot in common, actually. My grandfather's from Sicily as well. His name was Nunzio Messina, okay? They went a little further west in the Gulf. Yeah, okay, right. I could have been somebody. I could have been Vinnie Messina. I got Mike Johnson instead. It's so boring. But anyway, I love my father's side of the family as well. But here we are. Grateful that you're here. You all are going to see us highlighting real hardworking Americans for the foreseeable future, because the One Big Beautiful Bill helps everybody. And you're going to hear their stories, and you're going to hear what it means to them and what it means to their employees in this case, what it means to the people who have really been struggling to pay the bills. The last 4 years was a disaster under the Biden-Harris Democrat big government socialist policies, and now we're getting back to American principles. America's back, and everybody's going to benefit from it. I want to talk to you about that a little bit, but just first, I mean, it's appropriate for us to note it was 1 year ago Sunday that on that field in Butler, Pennsylvania, that an assassin nearly took the life of President Trump. And we can't talk about it too much because it was a turning point in American history. It could have gone the wrong way. I mean, if that assassin's bullet missed just an inch to the right, or if President Trump would have turned his head just a millisecond later, he would have died on that stage, and this country would have come apart at the seams. But now, because of all this recent success and the president's success, it's easy to forget that just 12 months ago, President Trump was the most vilified politician, arguably, in the history of the country. Democrats spent years persecuting him on all fronts. They impeached him twice. Social media platforms removed his ability to communicate with his supporters. Armed FBI agents raided his home. Democrat judges and prosecutors bent the law to arrest him, and multiple assassins tried to kill him. But God miraculously spared the president's life. I think it's undeniable, and he did it for an obvious purpose. And his presidency and his life are the fruits of divine providence, and he points that out, obviously, now all the time, and he's right to do so. As President Trump has lived since, with the acknowledgement, every day since, he has acknowledged that each new day isn't guaranteed to us. It isn't to any of us, and that's why we're not wasting any time. It's why he remains so strong and resilient. It's why we have such a sense of urgency. President Trump took a bullet to his head. He got up shortly thereafter. He pleaded with the crowd to fight, and then he went on to win a historic election less than 4 months later. America's changed because he survived that day. Think about everything that we've been able to accomplish, and just over the last few weeks. I recounted this on the floor in the speech right after Hakeem finished his endless 8.5-hour, parade of lies. I said it takes a lot longer to build a lie than it does to tell the simple truth, and the truth is on our side. And as John Adams said, facts are stubborn things. We can't wait to talk about the facts, about the big, beautiful bill over this next year and a half or so till the election. But think about everything we've accomplished just the last few weeks. Gas prices hit a 4-year low. The last 4 jobs reports exceeded expectations. The stock market is reaching record highs. We have the lowest monthly border encounters in the history of the United States. Our NATO partners committed to spending 5%, not 2% of their GDP on national defense. We brokered multiple peace agreements and struck many more trade deals, more to come, significantly damaged Iran's nuclear program, and on July 4th, we did sign the One Big Beautiful Bill. The President signed it into law. It's the most consequential, transformational legislation ever considered in our lifetimes, and we got it done because the Republican Party delivered on the promises we made to the American people. And the President did as well. That list that I just mentioned barely scratches the surface. President Trump has promised the most, and has delivered now, the most successful first 6 months of any president in the modern era, and many argue probably in the history of this great nation. And he's shown no signs of stopping. We won't. Every citizen in every zip code in every pocket of America will benefit from the Big Beautiful Bill. Just like the Patties explained, you'll hear story after story in the weeks ahead. Last week, my office sent a survey to our constituents. I serve Louisiana's 4th Congressional District, and we sent around a survey to Louisiana families, knowing that they're going to save thousands of dollars now because of the vote that we took on July 3rd. We asked them, how would you use the extra money? And here's some of the responses. James said he's going to use the savings to open a Roth IRA for his family. Janice is an 80-year-old widow. She said she's going to use the savings for much-needed repairs to her home. Whitney is in a retirement home. She's going to utilize the savings to help pay rent. Pamela is grateful for the increased standard deduction and will likely add these savings to a rainy day fund for future expenses. Another constituent named James said he doesn't even want the relief. He said he's going to spend his thousands. He'd like to send it back to us to, quote, use for more plane tickets for people heading back south of the border wall. Okay? All right? That's a real response. All right? So, yeah. So many of my constituents said they would use their savings on things like basic needs and bills and debt payment and transportation and home repairs and helping family members and adding to their emergency funds, or some of them taking a well-deserved vacation. You know what? As Jimmy said earlier, it's their money. It's not the government's money, and we're delighted to give it back to them. That's the beauty of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and you can spend it however you please. I know the stories are similar in the other 434 congressional districts across this country. Despite the Democrats' repeated lies about the bill, lower and middle-income Americans are going to reap the greatest benefit. Individuals making less than $50,000 per year will receive the largest benefit from the tax cuts. Tipped and overtime workers will see no taxes on those wages. Take-home pay for the typical hardworking American family will increase by over $10,000 a year, and over 50 million seniors will now pay no taxes on their Social Security. This is real. The bill was written of, by, and for the American people. And with President Trump's signature on Independence Day, the American people will finally begin to feel relief. I'll just end with this statement and we'll take some questions. America First is no longer an agenda. It is now the law of the land. And that's what the people voted on last November to deliver, and we did it in less than half a year. So I'll take a few questions. Front row.
First of all, Speaker Benny Messina would have been great.
Hey.
So regarding yesterday's Supreme Court order on the Education Department, you've previously been asked whether Congress will assert its constitutional authority and pass legislation closing the department, which of course was created by an act of Congress. When exactly does that moment arrive? Does the President having, quote, ultimate authority over the Education Department, as was Secretary McMahon's interpretation of the order, not conflict with Congress's legal and constitutional power? At what point does this become a separation of powers conflict?
It may not surprise you. I haven't had a chance to digest the Supreme Court opinion from yesterday, whenever it was. Been a little busy, but we'll look into that. I'm a constitutional law attorney. I'm a jealous guardian of Article I authority, but I also know that for decades, the Department of Education, since its creation, the Department of Education is wielded by the executive branch. I think that was the intent of Congress, as I understood it back then. We have a large say in that, but we're going to coordinate that with the White House, where I'm not going to get as a vision on how to reform education at the federal level. Secretary McMahon has done an extraordinary job thus far, and we're going to follow their cues on how to do that. If we see that the separation of powers is being breached in some way, we'll act. But I haven't seen that yet. So, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, your office has told me the holdup on Congress taking up disaster aid for California is that you're waiting for the White House to send an official request. The President has indicated no interest in doing so, in part because of his tiff beef with Gavin Newsom, whatever you want to call it. Will you commit to including California in any disaster aid package passed out of the House, whether it be Texas, the Carolinas, regardless of the president's feelings about California?
Well, first of all, we wouldn't know how much to commit because there's a process that this goes through. The White House, in every administration and every previous Congress, the White House takes the request of the state. After the calculations have been done, the assessments, there's a multi-step process to this. They take that, they send the request to Congress, and then Congress it goes through regular order and acts upon the request. We just haven't had that in California yet for whatever reason. Gavin Newsom seems to enjoy trying to stick his thumb in the eye of the White House and the Congress, which seems to be counter-purpose if he is requesting relief. Look, we're going to do the right thing at the end of the day. We'll take care of the American people. We'll take care of our federal responsibilities. But we've not seen the calculation nor the formal request yet, and I'm going to act upon it until we do.
The formal request was sent to your office in February, sir.
I would get the request from the White House and the executive branch. That's how this works. We're going to follow the rules.
Mr.
Yeah.
Speaker, what's the consternation among House Republicans about possible changes to the rescissions bill in the Senate, and what that would be like in terms of timing as you're up against this deadline on Friday?
Yeah, the Friday deadline looms. We're encouraging our Senate partners over there to get the job done and to pass it as is. That's what we did. It reflects the intention and the view of the House. This is this, in our view, was low-hanging fruit. This rescission package is, you're talking about funding for USAID, the egregious abuses that the DOJ analysis and audits uncovered. We've got to claw that back. The American people, everybody demands that. We can't fund transgender operas in Peru with U.S. taxpayer dollars, right? So come on. The NPR and PBS components this is, in our view, the misuse of taxpayer dollars. They're biased reporting. They're not objective. They pretend to be so. They have for a long time. And the people don't need to fund that. I mean, we're in an age of, you all know, you work in the industry. I mean, media is so multifaceted now. There's so many avenues and areas for information. And while at its origination, NPR and PBS might have made some sense, and maybe it does now, but it shouldn't be subsidized by taxpayers. So these are simple questions to answer for us. The House has acted appropriately, and I hope the Senate will do the same. I've urged them, as I always do, to please keep the product unamended because we have a narrow margin and we got to pass it. But we're going to process whatever they send us whenever they send us, and I'm hopeful that it'll be soon.
What's this say about the mission if you're unable, though, to pass those things? So, I mean, the idea that Republicans talk about cutting the spending, and if there's a conflict, then you can't get it done through that deadline.
I don't accept defeat, Chad. So we'll see what happens. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Homeland Security Committee Chair Mark Green will be leaving on the 20th. Have you talked to any of the contenders and who can succeed him? How much do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I've talked to all of them, and we have an embarrassment of riches in the House Republican Conference. We have very highly qualified people who are willing to step up. They're all highly respected among their peers, so it'll be quite a horse race there. And I'm not going to put my thumb on the scale and try to influence that one way or the other. We have a process here. We respect the process, and that we have a steering committee that's composed of leaders and representatives from across the conference, and they'll hear the presentations of the candidates, and then they'll make the due decision. But it's going to be a tough race because there's some tough people. Great men who step forward, and we'll see how it shakes out. So, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So glad you all made it.